Hello, Toads and Toadettes. Since more and more people don't exercise, Nintendo decided to cash out on help us get our exercise with Nintendo Switch Sports. Come on, you know the series, Wii Sports. As a whole, it only sold over 100 million units. And with new and returning sports, new customization, and a new fresh coat of paint, let's see if Switch Sports could hold up to expectations, or if it was just too late. Let's go play with some balls. Sports equipment balls, that is, don't take that wrong, please. Starting with the gameplay, this is the graphics, controls, and what you do in the game. And beginning with the graphics, it's in HD and it runs at 60 frames per second. Mwah! This game runs really well, but don't think you're going to not experience lag, as here, you gonna hit the ball, buddy? You gonna hit the... Oh crap! Oh, man. Moving to the actual gameplay, you play sports. I know, it's pretty crazy. At launch there is 6 sports. They will add more in the future, so this game obviously can improve hugely. All sports are playable online, locally, and with friends online only. Playing online is where this game is at. Without online play, this game is practically pointless. Moving to the actual sports, let's start with bowling, because everyone likes bowling, right? No. Don't get me wrong, I can enjoy a good round of bowling, but this game does not capture the fun. Instead of doing 10 frames that everyone plays through to the end, there's 10 frames with elimination. In the first round, 8 of 16 players advance. Second round, it's 5 out of 8 players advance. Semifinals is 3 out of 5 players advance, and finals is just whoever gets first. This sounds like a cool twist, but if you're not good like me, you won't get past for round 1. And you might say, well, you have to be pretty bad not to be top 8 of 16. But you can get 2 strikes and screw up just once and get eliminated. You practically cannot screw up if you want to win. But of course, I am so bad, good, that I won. Once. But hey, cut me some slack, I got the 6 split conversion spare, I will never forget this. This would have been better if normal bowling was here online, but it's sadly not. When playing locally, and locally only, you can play special bowling, which is bowling but with an obstacle or maybe a small bridge, and it's actually pretty fun as it makes you change your shots rather than just shooting straight down the middle as most people do. Overall, bowling in Switch Sports isn't horrible, but it's not the best sport in this collection. Moving on, Swordplay returns with Chambara. The objective of this one is to knock your opponent off the platform using either a sword, a charged sword, or a twin sword. I actually really like this one, 10% of the time. The matches usually start off with an intense stare down, with both of you guarding, waiting to see who will strike first. And then when someone does, it usually ends up in this. If you go against someone who has skill, like me, it can be pretty fun. I don't really understand the different sword types, as sword is useless, charge is just sword with a charge strike, and twin swords is just double charge swords, which kind of ruins the purpose of having the sword or charged sword. Chambara can be good fun, it just boils down to who you play against. Going on, we meet volleyball, and despite its simplicity, it's actually one of my favorites. It's simple. The enemy serves, you bump, your teammate sets, and you spike. There is strategy though, as you can aim where you want to spike the ball, so seeing where the enemy is in the back is as important as the enemy trying to block you in the front. And yes, you can block a spike, and yes, it feels good. You can also jump before your teammate sets, which lets you spike quickly, which can catch your opponents off guard. If you time your moves perfectly, you'll get a nice. The more nices in a row, the more powerful your spike will be. Even though most spikes are just corner shots that barely make it in, it is still possible to get it out. Very rare though. Overall, I just love the teamwork and strategic plays in volleyball. Next to kick it off is soccer. By far the best sport. The kicking is pretty accurate, and in shootout mode you can practice your shots with the leg strap as well. When it comes to the actual matches, you fully control your character. The ball is humongous, and instead of something like Mario Strikers, it's more like Rocket League. The direction you swing the Joy-Con is the direction you kick, so you aren't just swinging carelessly. If you hold ZL and swing, you can pass the ball to your teammates, but seeing that you have to play soccer with randoms, it seems no one cares. Soccer is just good old fun, and it feels real good to score. Badminton is a new addition in this game, and it's actually really fun as well. You have full control of your racket, which gives you more freedom and options like a drop shot or lob. The way to win here is when they hit the shuttlecock bad, which is indicated by a wobbly blue trail, and after that you can do a devastating drop shot. Not much else to it really, but hitting the shuttlecock back and forth and waiting for your opponent to mess up is an enjoyable experience. until you're the one who falls, which then it sucks. Finally, tennis returns. I am a humongous tennis fan in real life, and this game fails to capture a lot about it. It gets the simple things. You hit the ball over the net, the opponent does the same. Basic stuff, but that's all. You constantly hit it out, which gets insanely frustrating. There's barely any different shots for you to pull off as well. Also, it's only playable on 2v2, and if you have no teammate, you get to play as both characters, which gets pretty confusing. I also notice when the ball is far away and I swing the Joy-Con to hit it, only like 50% of the time does my character actually try to hit it. I guess he's just lazy. I don't really know what's happening here. Also, you cannot do no you anymore. This was like one of the best things in Wii Sports. Just no you, no you, no you, no you, and no, now you can't at all. So, yes, me. Tennis is for sure the worst sport in this collection. So yeah, the sports they chose are good and bad. But you know what? Screw the sports in this game. You know we're all here for the me. Wait, that's not a me. What is that creature? It's a sports mate? Well, okay. Sports mates are, yeah, I guess they're the spotlight characters in this game in Nintendo Switch Sports. But don't fret, as you can play as me still. Oof, that was kind of getting scary there. It's just that you can barely customize your Miis compared to the sports mates. And wait, customize? Yes, you can droop out your sports mates or Miis in this game. When playing a sport, you will get points. Get 100 points and you can choose a collection to randomly get an item from. When you obtain every item in a set, you get a completion bonus, which gives you 2 full sets of clothing like you see here with the soccer collection. The points are given by a play bonus and then smaller multipliers for doing things like winning or teamwork. Bowling is the easiest way to get points for sure. The cosmetics also are pretty good, as not only can you deck out your character, but you can change your equipment as well. There are also stamps, which are emotes, and they're all pretty good besides the kindergarten ones. Like, what are these? Did they make these on MS Paint in 5 minutes? Anyways, you can also customize as a squirrel. Yeah, squirrel. Customization is a big part of this game, as not only does it make you look cool, but it gives you something to work for. Another thing to work for is the Pro League, basically a ranking system. If you win enough games in a certain sport, you will join the Pro League. The Pro League starts at E rank and goes to A rank. Ranking up isn't that hard, as you don't lose much points for losing. You can probably rank up with just 3 consecutive wins, so it's honestly not that hard. Unless you're like me. There are also some minor things in this game, like queuing sports. So if you can't decide between 2 or 3 sports, just queue all those 3 sports, and it'll randomly give you one. Or, if you can't decide between all the sports, just use random, as it'll randomly put you in any of the sports that are in the game. There are also some other changes or additions, like alternate color mode, or the dominant hand/leg, which you can change for every single sport, which is pretty cool. You can also opt out of Pro League if you want, if you just want to take a break and go back to the normal matches you were having before Pro League. Or you can also change some settings in soccer, like having the mini-map, or different camera styles, and you can also disable stamps. There are also how to play tutorials for 3 of the 6 sports. I guess they just didn't get to finish these or something. There's only tutorials for volleyball, soccer, and chambara. There's no tutorials for bowling, tennis, or badminton, which is a pretty weird decision. But when you actually get to these tutorials, they're pretty good. They teach you every single move basically, besides like some hidden moves. But for the most part, they do teach you how to play. Just kind of weird how there's only 3 tutorials for 3 of the sports. There should have been 6 for all 6 of them. But yeah, for the most part, these tutorials are pretty good. Last thing for this section are the controls, which is a big, large, humongous, astronomical part of this game. The controls are supposed to make you feel like you're playing that sport, and that's been a thing throughout the whole entire franchise. And for the most part, it captured that very well. Now, the motion controls aren't perfect, as it sometimes does the wrong move, like spiking the ball in the wrong direction, or as like I stated earlier, sometimes my character just does not leap for the ball in the tennis. He'll just swing and just stand there, and that's very, very annoying. The button controls for soccer, they're also pretty good. I just wish when you could pass to a teammate, it wasn't just random. Like, I think it's whoever's closest to you, they pass it to. I feel like that's kind of dumb, but yeah. Nintendo Switch Sports is built around motion controls. That's what Wii Sports as a series has always been built around. And when it comes to the motion controls, Nintendo Switch Sports nails them. And not much games nowadays use motion controls, so it's very refreshing to see a game use motion controls so well. Running along, we meet the sound section. This is the soundtrack of the game, and I'm a person who takes soundtracks very seriously as I listen to video game music maybe a little bit too much than I should be. But yeah, for the most part, Switch Sports has an amazing soundtrack. Songs for volleyball and bowling are so familiar despite them being new songs, and I feel like every song fits their respective sport. I also love how the Switch Sports main theme is a reference to Wii Sports theme on the Wii. It brings back nostalgia, and I really like when games reference old songs and old games with new songs. If you kind of get what I'm saying there, it might be a little bit confusing. But yeah, I just feel like overall Switch Sports soundtrack just gets me in a good mood. Spiking forward, we meet replayability. And do I really have to explain this one? No, duh, Switch Sports is built for replayability. There is no end to the game, as you can be playing these sports endlessly. And especially how they add a collection every single week, it's going to be hard to run out of things to do. And not only that, but there's also the Pro League. If you want to go for it, you can get A rank in every single sport. And like I said, this game is still going to be updated with new sports. Replayability is something, if that Switch Sports didn't have, it would not be fun. Yes, Switch Sports has a lot of replayability. Next to swing is the comparison. Nintendo Switch Sports is the newest Wii Sports game, so that means it's going against the 3 predecessors: Wii Sports, Wii Sports Resort, and Wii Sports Club. And when it gets compared, you can see its flaws. Nintendo Switch Sports has 6 sports, and I honestly think the sports in Switch Sports are somewhat better than Wii Sports and Wii Sports Club, as Wii Sports and Wii Sports Club have the same amount of sports. Same sports actually as well. I feel Switch Sports has better sports than Wii Sports, but I do feel like Switch Sports is missing some sports that are in Wii Sports. But now when you look at the second game in the franchise, you see Wii Sports Resort with 12 sports. And not only 12 sports, there's different types of sports. Like for example, basketball is in this, but you can do a 3-point contest or just a street ball match. Wii Sports Resort took Wii Sports to a whole entire new level, and Wii Sports Club took Wii Sports to a whole entire new low. So where does Nintendo Switch Sports take Wii Sports? I feel like it took it back to where Wii Sports started it. Obviously, it could hugely improve with the updates. I made a video a few months ago about how I thought Nintendo Switch Sports could be the best Wii Sports after a few months, possibly a few years after its launch, as there could be more than 12 sports, obviously. But as it stands right now, there's only 6, and I would say Wii Sports Resort blows it out the window. Now, if my theory does become true, I could easily see Nintendo Switch Sports being the best Wii Sports, not only just because of the amount of sports being larger in the future maybe, but because of just customization and Pro League. I feel like all these other little additions also complement it very well. So when you compare it, I think it honestly stands up pretty well. Next section to get a spare is my complaints. I have a few complaints for this game, so I'd get ready. And first, I just want to start off with a pretty common complaint, is that is the sports mates. They feel just very generic, and maybe it would have been better if they weren't the spotlight characters, as they put Mii's in the shadows, and really no one wanted sports mates. One of Wii Sports staples is Mii's. Yes, the sports are probably just 50%, but Mii's are another 50%. They give Wii Sports personality. And, pushing them aside does not help, especially how these sports mates, while yes, they can have personality, they just don't have as much as Mii's do. Mii's are so easy to make it look like you, unless you're broken. But sports mates are kind of hard. Like, I don't even use sports mates because I can't find a hairstyle that matches mine, a face. It just doesn't work out. I don't like sports mates. I don't know why they decided to even have these in the game and not just focus on Mii's. Why couldn't Mii's be the spotlight characters in Switch Sports? My next complaint, I absolutely love tennis, but they ruined tennis in this game. Like I said, they get the simple stuff, but they don't get the rest. You can't lob, it's just constantly you just swing the Joy-Con. There's no strategy to it, as in actual tennis, there is strategy. And also, that's not the only thing bad about tennis. It's forced in 2v2. You cannot do 1v1, and that is extremely dumb, as when you're doing it online. If you have no teammate, and out of random, the other person gets a teammate, you will have to control both characters, and this ends up of me just controlling the person in the back. Like, I would never control the person in the front. I cannot control two characters at once. I don't have the brain cells to do that. For what it looks like right now, tennis is just boring. Next complaint is that there is no normal bowling online. Yes, don't get me wrong, I can enjoy a good elimination bowling, but having normal bowling only in local mode is kind of retarded. Just have it in, like, if it's in the game, why don't you have it online? Why can't you just do, normal and then elimination? I feel like that makes more sense. Maybe for people who aren't as good. Luckily, I am pretty good. But why can't they just have normal bowling for everyone can enjoy all 10 frames? Anyways, it's very minor. I still really love elimination bowling. But yeah, for the most part, there's a lot of other complaints I have, but they're very minor. Like, you can barely customize your Miis, stuff like that. This game does have a lot of flaws, but overall, it's still an enjoyable experience. And that's game. Having a game controlled only by motion is honestly cool to see nowadays. Despite it not being perfect, Nintendo Switch Sports did what it came to do. I give Nintendo Switch Sports a score of 74 out of 100, or 7.4 out of 10 in simpler terms. This is subject to change as the game is not finished. When updates come out, I will make videos about them with a changed score. Anyways, I have not reached my daily exercise goals yet, even though I don't plan on reaching them. So, I think it's time to hit up some Nintendo Switch Sports. On that note, I will see you in the next one.